Okay, my camera shut off by accident by me, but it's okay. I'll post like a part 2 of this. I have a series of books. They are by author Jim C. Hines. And the first one's called The Stepsister Scheme. And like it says, it's basically Disney princesses mixed with like Charlie's Angels. The main princesses are Danielle from Cinderella, a more Arabic version of Sleeping Beauty, and of course Snow White, where Snow White uses magic. Oh, it's actually pretty good. There's 4 books in the series, and again, like I said, I can talk about any of these books at greater length if you ever become interested. I have the Silver Kiss by Annette Curtis Klaus. It's a vampire book, and it's really good. It's kind of like proto-Twilight, but it's interesting. And then I have books down here at the bottom. They're part of a series by author Dennis L. McKiernan. They're called the Fairy Tale series, and what they basically are is they're retellings of fairy tales, of course, with fantastic elements like sword and sorcery. And there are 5 books in the series. Each one is based on fairy tales, obscure or not, and I have all 5 in the series. And then of course there's more books in the back. Of course the 4th book in the Anne Rice Sleeping Beauty quartet. I also have this one book. It's called Snow White Blood Red. It's a collection of short stories, and they're all based on fairy tales, of course, but they're darker and edgier, and you know, they're more for adults. I got it because it was bargain priced for $7.98, and it's got all sorts of, you know, short stories in it. It has, as you can tell from the back of this book, Neil Gaiman, Tanith Lee, Jane Yolen, all sorts of authors, and it's just a really good read if you like short stories. Of course, I have Princess Sat by Anne Rice. I have Dr. Sleep by Stephen King. I know you can't really see these very well. Like I said, I'm the only one managing this, so. But I have that, and then I have The Dark Half. And down at the bottom, last but not least on this shelf, I have the autobiography of Anne and Nancy Wilson from Heart. It's a story of heart, soul, and rock and roll. It's called Kicking and Dreaming. I love this book. If I didn't want to mar it so much, I'd probably have it earmarked with all my favorite parts of it. But yeah, so that's this half. And then of course I have the inside shelf of my cabinet. Let's see, we'll just start from the bottom and work our way up. I have a bunch of these books. They're short stories. Most of them are written by Nora Roberts, and then they're part of series of short stories with her and Jill Gregory, Ruth Ryan Langan, and Marianne Willman writing short stories, all based around a theme. Once Upon a Castle, Once Upon a Kiss. They have Once Upon a Rose, Once Upon a Dream, stuff like that. Then I have the Hunger series about vampires written by Whitley Strieber. I have all 3 in the series. Then I have Gallows Hill by Lois Duncan. I love Lois Duncan. She wrote the book based off what the movie I Know What You Did Last Summer is based off of. And she's a good writer. She wrote a lot of horror thriller kind of stories until her daughter was murdered, and then she went to more children-friendly stuff like writing Hotel for Dogs. Again, I can go in more depth about stuff if you want to. And then there's more of my Stephen King books. Cujo, Gerald's Game, The Shining, Night Shift, and The Dead Zone. Down here, I have North and South by John Jakes. I saw the miniseries because my mom loved it and I love it. and I got the books to read. They're a little boring, but if you like the Civil War, you will definitely love reading these books. They're very informative too, about political times around then. I also have Heaven and Hell and Love and War, which are the 2 sequels to it. And other books that I have the Beautiful Creatures series, and the kind of offshoot of it, the Dangerous Creatures books. Because I saw the movie before I got these books. I have not read all of them, but yeah, I saw the movie that, of course, see, a major motion picture. So I like the writing of, I like how it is in a movie form, so I can't wait to kind of actually see how Cami Garcia and Margaret Stoll write the action in it. And then, of course, I have The Last Unicorn by Peter S. Beagle. I love saying his last name, Beagle. It's fun. I love The Last Unicorn by Peter S. Beagle. I love the animated movie, and that's another book that I have to read in the future. It's very hard, isn't it, trying to pay attention to me moving this camera around so much, but like I said, I'm the only one operating it, so I have to move everything. I have a few of them down here, but I have Babysitters Club books. I got this one at Half Price Books for like $1.99. But back when I was younger, my mom enrolled me in like the Babysitters Club book club, and I got like every single issue of the Babysitters Club up to like number 70 before I think we canceled. And I ended up getting rid of a lot of books, and I ended up buying some of them back through other places. Let me remove my, this is my favorite air freshener. You want to know, Fern, Sandalwood, and Cardamom, I love it. But I love the Babysitters Club books. They're like my Fear Street books, where I've had them for like a long time. Okay, this is, again, my collection of Stephen King. I love Stephen King. I have Salem's Lot, and Misery, and Carrie, and Needful Things, and the Tommyknockers, and The Stand, Eyes of the Dragon, Christine, Firestarter, and Pet Sematary. So, I had to get a couple of editions of these books where the covers didn't freak me the hell out. Like, the original Pet Sematary cover freaked me out, and the Cujo one made me kind of disgusted. Like, I always had to get different covers that didn't, like, creep me out and want to give me nightmares. So, I guess upward again. More cheesy romance novels. Princess by Galen Foley. It's historical too. It takes place kind of around when Napoleon was, you know, big in ruling France. I have one called Sisters of the Moon by Janine O'Carey, and it's a Celtic historical romance. I saw it again, like when I was in college, and it looked good. So then I have Elaine Barbieri, To Meet Again. It's another historical romance. It's more of a Western. I like it. And then we go into my V.C. Andrews collection. We'll start from the bottom a little bit more. I have the entire Dollenganger series, which is the Flowers in the Attic series. So yeah, I have all 5 books. If you can't tell by the spine, my copy of Flowers in the Attic is kind of wanting to fall apart. I've had it for a long time. I think since I was like 16. So, and then I've got some of the newer ones. These are kind of related to the Flowers in the Attic series. Secrets of Foxworth and Echoes of Dollenganger from the Christopher's Diary series. And then I have White Fern, which is a sequel novel to My Sweet Audrina, which, if I can get this one little section moved over. I mean, I have so many books, I just don't have anywhere to put them. So let me see, because I have one book that's stuck up in here. So I will try to get that out, but can't tell if I can try to move it a little bit. See, I have My Sweet Audrina by V.C. Andrews. So I have the sequel. I also have Sun and Moon, Ice and Snow by Jessica Day George. It's based on a fairy tale, of course. It's really good. And then I have another book by Annette Curtis Klaus, Blood and Chocolate. If anybody's ever heard of the movie, this is the book that's based on, and it's about werewolves. But they're called the Loup-Garou. But basically they're werewolves. I love Once Upon a Time because I love fairy tales, so I found this one book. It's a Once Upon a Time Tale Reawakened. It's basically the first season of Once Upon a Time. It switches between perspective of Snow White and her daughter Emma. So I know everybody should probably know that by now, so I'm not spoiling anything for you. Then of course I have 2 books by Lois Duncan. I have The Third Eye and Summer of Fear. So yeah, Lois Duncan. I love Lois Duncan. Then I have this collection of stories, once again by Liz Braswell and Cameron Dokie, and they're called Snow and Beauty Sleep. Of course, they're based on Snow White and Sleeping Beauty. So I like those. And then speaking of Liz Braswell, she writes the Twisted Tales series of books based on Disney movies, and this one's called Once Upon a Dream. Of course, based on Sleeping Beauty, and Sleeping Beauty is my favorite fairy tale, but it's what if the Sleeping Beauty never woke up? It's actually a really good twist on it, and I haven't read the other books in the series yet, but I might eventually get those. And then I have 3 books here by Jackson Pierce. She's a female writer, and of course she writes books based on fairy tales. The book Sweetly is based on Hansel and Gretel. Fathomless is based on Little Mermaid, and Sisters Red is kind of like a Snow White, Rose Red, Red Riding Hood kind of mashup. So yeah, I have those. And then there's another book where I had to get a different version because I got rid of the other one because the original cover creeped me out. But this is what this cover looks like. But it's from legendary horror writer John A. Russo. He helped write Night of the Living Dead with George Romero, and it's called The Awakening. It's about a vampire, and it says it's also a major motion picture released under the title Heartstopper. I actually have this movie, but I have it underneath the movie titled Dark Craving, and it was a book that belonged to my friend Amy's grandfather, and when he passed away, she gave it to me, but the original cover freaked me out. But I did read it, and it's pretty good. The movie's okay, I guess. And going differently in weird genre after that is I have Jeanette Oakes' Love Comes Softly. I saw the movie first, and I had to get the book. There's about 7 more of these books. I'll get them eventually, but yeah, so. And then I guess I'll fix my stack later, but back here behind these books, if I can grab them. Like I said, this is very hard trying to maneuver it by yourself. If I can find a place to put these. There you go. Back here, like I said, I have more Babysitter Club books. All the ones that I kept. I have Gail Carson Levine's Fairest. which is a take on Snow White, and it's kind of in the same vein as her novel Ella Enchanted, because I love the movie. I have 2 books by Jane Yolen. I have Snow and Summer, which is of course based on Snow White, and Briar Rose is based on Sleeping Beauty. It has parallels though with the Holocaust back in World War II, and it's actually a very good book. And so that's what got me into Jane Yolen. Then of course, if you didn't notice, I have the 50 Shades series down here. I've only read the first one. I haven't read these other 2 yet, and I've seen the first movie and I haven't watched the other movies. So, but I've got those, and then along with I guess my Anne Rice Sleeping Beauty quartet and my 50 Shades trilogy, I have 3 other kind of erotic romance novels. The Awakening of Sleeping Beauty, and Crave, which is based on Snow White, and Enslaved, which is based on Beauty and the Beast, and they're all by Kathy Yardley. I've read Ravish and Crave, and they're really good. They're kind of, I guess they'd be in between 50 Shades and the Sleeping Beauty quartet. So, start off with that, work to these, go to Anne Rice, and you'll be good to go. Let's see. I still have more books. This is my shelf over here. I have Christopher Pike books. I saw Christopher Pike books a long time ago when I used to read R.L. Stein's Fear Street, and I never got into them, and they, a lot of people say, you start with R.L. Stein, go to Christopher Pike, end up at Stephen King. So I have yet to read these yet. But I also have Vanished by Danielle Steele, and Ghost Story by Peter Straub. In Stephen King's Dance Macabre, he talks about Ghost Story in length, and he and Peter Straub ended up writing The Talisman together. So that's why I got this book. And of course I have The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty. And I have The Princess Bride by William Goldman. I love the movie, so I had to get the book. And then another Christopher Pike book. And then this is the newest Return to Fear Street book by R.L. Stein, called You May Now Kill the Bride. So I can't wait to read that. And then of course when he relaunched the Fear Street series, I bought all those books too. There's The Lost Girl and Can You Keep a Secret, and then Party Games and Don't Stay Up Late, and then Give Me a Kill, which is another Fear Street cheerleader book. I loved the Fear Street cheerleaders when they first came out. And then of course The Dead Boyfriend. And then I have a omnibus collections of Christopher Pike. I have his entire Remember Me trilogy right here, about a girl who learns that she's dead and tries to solve her own murder. And then Chain Letter. And then I have another Christopher Pike, Road to Nowhere. And Bound to You, I think it's 2 books. Yeah, Spellbound, and See You Later. And then I know you noticed my Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone in paperback up there. And then I had another one, Christopher Pike, 2 novels, Slumber Party and Weekend. So I have those. And I got my little Hermione Granger keychain. I got my brother-in-law 10th Doctor keychain, and they were like buy one get one like half off, so I bought the Hermione one for myself. So yeah. And back here I have more Danielle Steele. I have Zoya, The Ring, and No Greater Love. And then of course I have my Harry Potter books. I took the dust jackets off because I didn't want them to get ripped. I have them folded up and hidden somewhere so they won't get torn up. But I have all of them except for Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. I have to go get a copy of that. And then I have a couple of CDs there. Heart CDs, Tom Petty, Bob's Burgers. I love Bob's Burgers. I think it's a hilarious show. They have a music album that has every single song that they've created for every episode up until like, I think like season 6. But yeah, they're like short songs, so there's like 100 of these things. But yeah, so you should check out Bob's Burgers. It's funny. I have more movies up here. Horror movies, and like I said, I love fairy tales, so it doesn't matter whether they're romantic or they're darker. I like them. I also love horror movies, so I love when Halloween comes up so I can go buy some. And then I have more music, more CDs, and yeah, I have a ton. That's all CDs and DVDs in the back. And this, of course, is like all the Fear Street books, pretty much, that I can think of. If I can just move them a little bit. If you can hear the kind of Velcro snapping of them, it's because they're in there pretty tight. But yeah, I have, those are more Fear Street books in the back. And then of course you have the, excuse my makeup, so I can kind of move it out of the way. And yeah, I like Descendants too. I don't care if I'm almost in my 40s. I like it. Anything that's got to do with fairy tales and Disney movies, I like. Trying to move these out of the way because not all of these are Fear Street books. Those are Fear Street books. I've also got lots of other point horror books that came out. I have Dream Date by Sinclair Smith. I have Rosemary's Baby by Ira Levin. And I have The Stepford Wives by Ira Levin. And then there's actually a sequel to Rosemary's Baby called Son of Rosemary. It's pretty good. And then 13 is a point horror collection that has a bunch of short stories by all the point horror authors that I used to read. D.E. Atkins, Carolyn B. Cooney, Carol Ellis, Diane Ho, Christopher Pike, Sinclair Smith. You know, there's so many of them. And I got that off Amazon for used. And then, like I said, The Bride by D.E. Atkins and Camp Fear by Carol Ellis. I have this one book, Overkill by Elaine Ferguson. It's really good, talking about all the, you know, things that go into a murder case. And then I have a bunch of R.L. Stine, of course. The Boyfriend, The Dead Girlfriend, The Girlfriend, Twisted, Blind Date. Superstitious is kind of more an adult novel that he wrote after the original Fear Street series kind of ended. It's pretty good. I also have The Snowman and Call Waiting. Of course, more Fear Street over this way. I also have Carolyn B. Cooney's The Vampire's Promise. It's an omnibus collection of 3 novels centered around a vampire. Deadly Offer, Evil Returns, and Fatal Bargain. I remember these underneath the different titles. I think it was, the first one was The Cheerleader, and then the second one was The Vampire Returns, and then I think the third one is called The Vampire's Promise, which is what the collection is. And then my other books over here, I have a Freeze Tag by Carolyn B. Cooney. I have this one book called Jewel. It's by Jean Innes, and it's actually a book that my friend Amy, I think she found it in a bunch of books, and she loaned it to me, and I loved it, and she ended up getting me this copy off of Amazon to have, so I really like it. I like that it has that like little heart in the corner too. I have a bunch of books by Richie Tankersley Cusick, and if you see this, I have a novelization of the 1992 Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie. I love that movie, and it got me into liking Buffy the Vampire Slayer really big. If you didn't notice when I started recording my other video, I have a Buffy the Vampire Slayer t-shirt on that has Sunnydale High on it with vampire fangs. So this one's running long, so I'm going to stop and then start again like I did with the other one.